Welcome to the Ponca City Monthly Podcast. I'm Andy, your host, and I thank you for joining us. Today, we're joined with our special guest, Liz Leeming, who's with Ponca City Development Authority. Liz, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you for having me, Andy.
Great. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do for Ponca City Development Authority.
Yes, thanks for asking. Ponca City Development Authority started a workforce arm of what they do and bring to the community. There is a slide, if you have ever heard any of us present on PCDA, that we always show that Harvard School of Business came out with, and it shows a crux. In 2008, the amount of available workforce goes down and the amount of needed workforce goes up. And so since then, not just in Ponca City, but across America, we have needed more workforce than we have available. So that is when PCDA started the Ponca Works program. And last year in July, Kay County had over 2,000 open job postings on the internet.
Wow.
And so it's just always something that we know our employers need, and it's the biggest cost of doing business. And so that's what we've tried to do, is create some workforce development. And so it's changed throughout the years what the Ponca Works position has done. We've been a recruiter, we've been a matchmaker, setting up different local people with employers to create good matches within their businesses. And then we've also built up the pipeline of local workforce, growing your own workforce. And so we've kind of changed and morphed as the needs of our community have morphed. But most recently, our biggest projects have been our partnerships with the Ponca City High School, creating the Wildcat Internship Program, which next semester will be our 8th year in that. And we have had a full-time internship director that we help fund with a school system. And next year we'll have 200 interns placed in local businesses across the community.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It's a really great win, I think, for employers and for students, because it creates that connection between students and those workers, so that when the students either choose to come back here after getting some training post high school or just go straight into the workforce, they have a place to begin and that tie to the working community in Ponca.
Nice. How did you come up with the idea for the intern program?
Interns, I think, internships programs have been around, for centuries. Apprenticeships were big and are still big in Germany. That's how they finish off their high school careers, is with apprenticeships. And so I think that in the Bush administration, there's a big push for college for all. And we kind of shifted our mindset from workforce and going straight into work to going to college. And so that's what we've pushed on kids for a couple of decades now, which college is great. I loved my college experience, but I don't think that every position or workforce or even student is going to be successful with a college degree. And the price of higher education has just increased. And so I think we're shifting back into more of a hands-on learning environment. And Joy Hoffmeister was a state superintendent in the prior administration, and she came up with a plan where you really focus on your life after high school during college, focusing your classes on that, and then also focusing your working on that during the school year. So that is kind of when the legislation shifted and you could get an internship and an elective credit at the same time. So Chuck Behe was an assistant principal at the high school when I began working at PCDA back in 2000. I have that written down here. I'm sorry. 2016 is when we started that program. I started talking about that program. And so we started, I think, with 6 or 7 kids the first couple of semesters at different businesses. And so the kids will get an elective credit and then get that experience.
And that's a college credit that they're earning while they're in high school, correct?
It's a high school credit.
Oh, it's a high school credit. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. I know that we have a couple of interns here, and we've had interns who help us on the magazine. So that's very cool.
Yes, you have an intern. I think your first intern is going to school for journalism.
Oh,
and
nice.
So I think that really helped shape her career goals.
Very cool.
So yeah, I know. I appreciate you guys always hosting interns. So the internship position has been one of our largest current projects. And then we also have a boomerang recruitment marketing strategy that's happening right now. And that's one strategy that workforce development uses. It's always easier to recruit people back to an area that they've already been to, whether they have family ties here or career ties or that type of thing. So we are targeting young people, whether it's college students who are finishing their degree and looking for some place to start a career, or maybe they have been away for a while and are starting a family and looking at some place to buy a home and settle down. So we're doing some social media marketing and then some email newsletter campaigns to try and bring those folks back home.
Nice.
And that's when we realized that there's other portions of workforce development that maybe don't seem like workforce development, like housing and retail and entertainment opportunities that create the holistic experience of workforce development.
Wow. Yeah, it's a pretty big thing. I mean, it's something that touches every life, every aspect of our community. I mean, if you're not working, you're struggling.
Absolutely.
And to have ample jobs to be able to apply for,
Right.
It's and industries and things like that is what you guys help create, right?
Yep. PCDA we have up until recently worked with primary industry, which a little economics lesson for anybody who's not aware, but primary industry is any business that exports goods or services outside of the community and imports new money within the community. And that's the new money that circulates that you spend on shopping or entertainment, going out to eat, but it brings that new money back in, makes your community richer.
Nice. Very cool. So how did you get involved in all of this? Like how long have you been with PCDA, and how did you get involved?
So in 2014, I took Ponca City Leadership.
Okay.
And was a part of that program. So shameless plug for the Ponca City Chamber of Commerce, but that program really does connect you with the community in ways. I think I am a transplant here. I've been here for a decade, a little over a decade now, but I think even if you grew up in this area, it connects you in ways that you didn't know or understand before. So I met Sarah Lynn, who had worked with PCDA at that time. And at the time, I was the business director at the Opportunity Center, which is a very entrepreneurial type of position. And so the focus of PCDA on the business and economic growth just really spoke to me. And so I began my career with PCDA in 2016. Since then, I've completed the OU Economic Development Institute and also received the highest ranking of economic development, which is a certified economic developer. So I've learned a lot along the way as well.
So the Icon Theater is coming, or the Icon Cinema. So tell me a little bit about that and how PCDA gets involved in that, and how they were able to work that deal. Now, are they buying the theater that was there and they're remodeling it, correct?
Correct. So we've had this empty AMC building since, I believe they closed in 2021. They closed as a result of COVID happening and people not being able to go to a theater and gather in large groups. So we have known as PCDA, we can play in retail, we call it play, but work with entertainment opportunities. And so we have known and talked about incentivizing theaters to come to our community before. And so last spring, I was approached by someone who is a connection and friend. They used to do economic development in the Enid area. and they now have a consulting company called Retail Attractions. And they said, hey, I think we have somebody who might be interested in coming into your theater. And do you guys work with entertainment? And so that started a process within our board of trustees because we've not done that before. And we've also been talking about how workforce development has become kind of a retail attraction in housing. And we weren't able to incentivize retail and housing prior to this. So it kind of became a discussion on how to bring this theater in. So in markets like Ponca City, we're a smaller area, but we have a regional draw. And so we had to prove the market was there, but we also wanted to make certain that however we incentivized this theater to come in, that it was net neutral for our community. So we wanted to make certain that whatever the theater brought in and we made gains on with sales taxes, how we would make those gains, that we didn't incentivize them to a larger degree than we would make as a community over the course of the time. So we have owned properties, like you were mentioning before we started the podcast, about how we own properties in the area, and we own several manufacturing facilities. And what we do with those is we do a lease to own. And so companies sign leases with us, and through the course of that, they pay their lease rate, and part of that goes towards the at the end of the contract. So how we made the deal happen with Icon Cinemas is knowing that the market here is a smaller market than it would be in Edmond or Dallas, Texas, is that we had to make certain that it made sense for the investor. Mm-hmm. And so we purchased the movie theater and are doing a lease to own with the operator. And then they are paying for all of the interior renovations, and they're going to be great. We're excited about them. We just met with them today, and there's going to be reclining seats and a bar and some increased food options there, and it's just going to be all redone and beautiful and sound great and look great. And so it'll be a good experience, but they're putting all of their money into the upgrades within the theater. So at the end of the contract that we have with them, then they will own the theater. It will belong to them, and they just have to continue running it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. So when you go to or when you're in meetings with people like that, what is the process you go through to prove that, hey, this is a good community, you want to be here? Like, I mean, what kind of things go into that?
So in rural areas,
if you could talk about it,
I can. In rural areas, like data and demographics are hard to gather.
Right.
And so we pay for several data subscriptions that shows us where people are going and spending their money, and, you know, traffic counts and that type of thing, and what type of pull we get, a retail pull. So it shows us that we get people from 60 miles away that come here to Ponca City to shop and eat. And so that's really showing people is that we have a larger regional pull, and how many people come here and drive on our thoroughfares, and then how many people are shopping, and what the gross sales are for a place like Walmart, which is right across the street. So
yeah. So this movie theater will be showing first run films, correct? And it's going to be state of the art, because I mean, I think that's how most movie theaters are nowadays, right? I mean, if you go to a big city, they're going to have all of that stuff. You get everything online, and you just show up and watch your film. You know, it's not like, I don't know. You can have dinner. Is it going to be one of those places where you can have dinner at? Do you know?
No, they would have, I think, if there was more space, but they wanted to keep 4 screens in the area. So yes, it's going to be state of the art, first run theater, and
yeah, they're going to have the reclining seats and all the fun things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought. Going to the movies now is an experience, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times you can stream a lot more quickly to your home. So
Yeah.
you can kick back on your couch and Andy Hicks doesn't have to put on pants to watch a movie anymore. So you want to go someplace where it feels good to go there. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's better than sitting on your couch. You get to watch a movie earlier, but you also get better popcorn. You can drink a beer while you're doing it, or you can take your kids and their friends, and but you just have to create that experience now when you're going to see movies. So I think that that's where the argument of cinema is in this day and age. That was another thing that we had to talk about, because we also convinced the theater operator to come here, but we also had to share the need for a cinema, to our board of trustees and everyone who needed to sign off, and also prove the need to the public, right?
Yeah.
Because we're utilizing public money. So we want to make certain that people know that we're being fiscally responsible with that.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of research about the number of movies made along with how much money's being made in the box offices.
Wow.
And so we are not back to like 2019 numbers, like pre-COVID numbers. We're not making that many movies yet, but we're very close to the amount of money made or being spent on the movies. And I think that that's because people are paying more and willing to pay more on an experience than they used to, especially because I think theaters are renovating now to create that higher luxury type of feeling and experience.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely. How do you go about it? So you bought the theater, and then now you've got to find somebody to go in there. Like, is there like a website for places like that? Or how do you find people that are investing and wanting to start a theater and come here and do that?
Well, we have the theater operator. We don't have to find them.
Oh, sure.
They're here. But other people who want to invest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before you found them, like, how did you go about, I mean, did they find you or how did that work?
Yeah, we have a partnership with the Retail Strategies, who helps matchmake and make those connections, but it's also networking.
Okay.
There are some shows that we've gone to in the past and have started to go to again, called International Convention of Shopping Centers. And so there's a lot of retail and restaurant chains that go to those places, and you just make connections with people and understand who they are, what they're looking for out of a community, and try and recruit them to your community. So it's a lot of networking.
Right. So not everything can be done with a telephone call and a Facebook.
Not everything.
Not everything.
Unfortunately.
Sometimes you have to show up and be there and shake hands.
That's right. That's right.
Fun. So, what are the future plans for, I mean, so they're going to open this summer. That's the goal. And you mentioned that they're starting to kind of a little bit get around to bringing some stuff here. Anything else you can tell us about that project?
Yes. Yep. They're going to start renovations here very quickly. We're hoping within the month, and then they should be open and ready for business before the end of the summer. So
that's fantastic.
We're knocking on wood that it gets done that quickly. Renovation and old building projects, you never know what you're going to find when you start taking down old curtains. And
how old is that theater? Do you know?
It was built in the 1980s.
Oh, so it's really old.
As old as I am.
Older. Yeah, so I'm older than it. It's fine.
But you've kept up with yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we mentioned about this a little earlier. You have not a lot, but you have some properties around town that you guys purchase to develop into businesses. What is the process of going through and finding those vacant lots or whatever, and how do you envision turning those into a business or, an industry? Yeah,
certainly. So, we have always focused on primary industry until, last July, like we were talking about. So we only have like manufacturing facilities currently. And so big part of economic development, and it's kind of an old strategy, but it's worked for us here in Ponca City, is building speculative buildings. Like you would build a spec house in a new housing development. It's similar to that because you have a manufacturing facility that's walk-in ready, and then you court companies or network with them to bring in new companies to your community. But you say, look, we have this beautifully designed building. You don't have to wait. And a lot of companies, when they're ready to expand, they don't want to wait 18 months for, at the least, for a new building to be built. And so we have several buildings that we have done that with and created those lease to own type of contracts with the companies. And a lot of the companies, like the newest building that was just purchased is Log 10, which is a microbiotics manufacturing facility out in the industrial park. And they had one of the buildings that we had built, and they've invested millions of dollars in that facility to make it work for them and what they do. And they just purchased it. And so it's outright, it's Log 10s now.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
It's not PCDAs anymore. So, but we do own several in the industrial park, and Duke is our most recent building that we built, and it got its certificate of occupancy last July, and it will hopefully be leased out here in the next month or so.
So when you're doing the spec builds, do you think about like this type of industry, we need this type of industry here, and then you build a facility for them and just hope they come? Or how does that work?
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, yes, that's how it works.
Exactly. And we built during a pretty high price in construction, but I think that was important as well for us to do because we are very low on manufacturing space. I don't know that we could point to a building right now that is empty and ready for business. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that we have that type of thing for companies that want to expand or move here. And it's also is maybe too high of a price for a business owner to build during that time as well. So it's good that we have it on the market right now. And and we build for, we have like target industries, and especially with advanced manufacturing. So we built for the ceiling height needed, the depth of cement needed for those manufacturing buildings, enough loading bays and that type of thing. So we built for the company that we were hoping for.
Nice. So you had the company in mind, so you kind of knew what what they were going to need as far as aspects go, as far as the building goes, or you just built it for general manufacturing. This is what general manufacturing people do. Because the Duke building is really cool. I got to go there, but it is kind of just generic. I mean, there's nothing special about that building other than the fact that it's a gigantic building.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yep. I mean, it's got enough office space for like a manufacturing facility, and then it's got 35,000 square feet of manufacturing space. But it's really, Andy, like about the ceiling heights and the loading bays and the cement depth. Did you know that certain manufacturing had to have certain types of depth of cement because of what load they'll have on their machinery? And
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You don't think about all the things you have to take into consideration when you're doing that kind of stuff, but that's what you're there for.
Yeah, that's why we take all those certifications and understand what's needed. And we really do keep up with our local industry to understand what they need as well. And we try to build good ecosystems with keeping their suppliers close by and recruiting other people so they can work with each other. Our companies have a really great atmosphere of working well together. Mm-hmm. Like Garaga, who makes garage doors. KNC Manufacturing does injection plastic molding, and they created a window frame to go on Garaga's doors because Garaga was having supply issues with getting them from out of town. So we have a lot of stories like that with our companies working well together and creating that ecosystem of family.
Wow, that's very cool. So I want to ask, when it comes to PCDA, me as just the average person on the street, I don't know anything about how politics in this town work. Don't know. It's weird.
That's a lie.
So how, like, for me, what is the importance of having these buildings and having these things here? Like, how does that affect me personally?
Sure. Well, you personally work at a marketing agency, right? So is it important for you to have things to market in a marketing agency?
Absolutely.
So I think that's where it would stem from. You're serving the people of this community who have businesses here, and they have businesses here because people work at facilities that import that money into the community and then have the ability to circulate it around. So you're even like a third tier, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. But if we didn't have those facilities or support or places for businesses to feel like they could move here and be successful here, then, I think population would continue to decrease. And we lost a lot when Phillips 66 moved some of their, well, it was Conoco at the time, moved their professional jobs to Houston, and that was back in 2009. And so we lost quite a few jobs at that time. But did you know that we didn't actually lose our number of jobs? We created diversity within our economy, and then we're able to create the same level of jobs with that. So Ponca City is just a really interesting community as far as like there's like a depth of people and a grit within our community that just keeps things going.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So can you tell me about any of the fun new projects you guys might be working on?
So, like I said, back in July of last year, we added retail and housing to our trust. So now we can incentivize. The city of Ponca City has been working on a housing incentive plan for quite a few years now, which they incentivize developers to build new housing here. And so we have been able to help with that. And so since last July, we've incentivized 17 new doors within the community of Ponca City. So we hope that only continues to grow and we get bigger developments, requests from people, and we can continue to incentivize new housing here. But that's one of the biggest things in 2020. I don't know if you keep up with census numbers, but we declined in our census numbers, not by a lot, but by almost the same amount of houses that had been torn down in the community over the last decade.
Okay.
And so it's just really something that's important that we do, that continue to grow that number of housing in our community to keep our population up. And also, who doesn't want to be in a nice new house?
Yeah.
I live in a house that was built in 1940 and I feel that every day.
Yes. My house is very 1960, whatever it was born in. Has that nice brick look to it. And yeah.
No, it's probably kind of cool though.
Yeah, it works.
Like Mad Men.
Yeah, it works. It's very modern, so whatever. But yeah, well, thank you for taking some time to talk with us. I appreciate you being here, and thanks again.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you allowing us to tell our story as PCDA. I think you're right. It is kind of weird to people when they're like, what do you guys do? It's just confusing. And so we hope to be able to talk more about what we do and help people understand. And we are funded by a 50-cent city sales tax.
Okay.
So every 5 years, you, the public, votes on whether you want PCDA to continue doing that. And we've got, quite a few more years before the next election, but we hope that we're able to show the public that what we do for Ponca City is important and that you understand what it is and that you find value in it. But since our inception in 2003, for every dollar of sales tax money that we've gotten, we've given back $23 return on investment.
Wow.
So
very cool.
Hopefully there's some economic growth that you see value in, and the public will continue to support that tax.
Yeah, and if people want to find out more about what you guys do, how you guys have a website, Ponca City Development Authority, or is it Go Ponca?
It's Go Ponca.
Go Ponca.
GoPonca.com, yes, and you're always welcome to stop by our office in the City Central building. That's another one of the projects that we are in charge of, and we're on the second floor, Suite 200 in the City Central building. Or give us a call and ask questions. We're happy to chat. We love to be connectors, and we love to chat and teach people about what we do and about what we have here in Ponca City. I think people don't understand how many cool things are made here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, thanks for coming by, and we'll talk to you again soon.